Over 60? Discover the 4 shocking fish to avoid and 4 incredible choices that transform health. Lillian felt the panic rise in her chest as she read the health alert on her phone. Over 60? Discover the 4 shocking fish to avoid. It felt like a slap to the face. In her small coastal town of Bar Harbor, Maine, fishing wasn't just a way to put food on the table. It was a legacy. The scent of the ocean drifted through the air, bringing back memories of sunset dinners with her late husband, John, and her children gathered around. And now there were fish to avoid. She clenched her fists, fighting back tears. This was not just about her diagnosis. It was about the entire community she'd built her life around. Determined, Lillian launched into action. The next day, she stood in front of her weary mirror, brushing silver strands of hair away, transforming awe and fear into hope. Surveying the abundance of photographs on her walls, images of fish fry cookouts, grandkids splashing in the waves, she set a new goal. An event at the community center, where locals could come together to learn not just about which fish could harm them, but healthier alternatives that could save their lives. It was an uphill battle, but Lillian had always climbed mountains. Weeks passed, and Lillian faced resistance. Her own sister, Maggie, rolled her eyes, declaring rooted traditions could never be wrong. Lillian, you're losing your mind. Yet, memories of their younger fishing trips tugged at her heart. Those days spent by the sea laughing echoed loud and clear. She longed for Maggie's support, but every attempt to reconnect turned into another fight. The day of the event dawned ominously. A storm brewed in the distance, matching the unease that crackled through the air. With a quivering smile, Lillian arranged chairs, not knowing if anyone would come. Finally, townsfolk trickled in, their faces painted with skepticism. What's wrong with the fish we've caught for generations? One farmer questioned, arms crossed tightly. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Yet, Lillian stood strong. As she spoke about the risks, a spark ignited in some of the audience's eyes. The vision of their shared future transformed from rugged skepticism to a gentle understanding. Slowly but surely, something shifted in the room. Old friendships began to rekindle. Conversations sparked between neighbors who had disagreed for too long. Just when hope appeared within reach, Lillian noticed her sister's muted expression. 2 weeks ago, Maggie had confided in her about feeling unwell, brushed off by Lillian's preoccupation with the event. Now, the painful truth came staggering back. What if she had ignored the signs? As her sister quietly left the gathering, Lillian's heart sank like a stone. Was the cost of tradition too high? This moment filled with newfound resolve, nagging doubts, and the urgency to mend ties left Lillian standing at a precipice. Could she bring her community together, heal its divisions, and save lives while she was at it? Or would they let the fear of change drive them apart forever? The answer hung in the salty air, thick with promise and uncertainty, leaving Lillian and her beloved Bar Harbor on the brink of something monumental. Lillian took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment settle over her like a heavy fog. The faces in the room pulsed with life, concern, and a sprinkling of hope. Yet her mind was focused elsewhere on Maggie. The bond carved from years of laughter and shared memories now felt thin, like ice underfoot. She needed to reach her sister before it was too late. After the event, Lillian rushed outside, the wind whipping her hair back as the storm clouds churned overhead. Bar Harbor looked different today. Streets she once strolled with John now felt foreign, and the quaint shops, once filled with laughter, seemed muted under the weight of her worries. "Maggie," she called out, her voice breaking through the distant sound of thunder. She spotted her sister's familiar figure near the pier, hesitant and drawn, staring out at the tumultuous sea. "Maggie." Lillian hurried closer, her heart racing. "Wait." Maggie turned, eyes narrowing. "What, Lillian? I just wanted to talk." The desperation in her voice surprised even her. "I'm scared. I've been thinking about us." Maggie's face softened for a moment, and Lillian seized the opportunity. I need you to understand why I did all this. It's not just about the fish, it's about health. Our health. People are still fishing, Lillian, Maggie countered, her voice cool and flat. That way of life isn't wrong. We've survived on it for generations. But at what cost? Lillian pressed, the wound from Maggie's earlier dismissal still fresh. Look, I know we've done things a certain way, but it's killing us. We need to adapt, to save ourselves from this. Maggie hesitated, her bravado cracking. In that moment, vulnerability etched itself across her features. You don't understand. I don't want to believe something I've relied on for so long is bad for me. It's not easy, change never is. But going to the doctor, asking for tests that could save your life. Don't let pride get in the way. Please, Maggie. The air was thick with tension. Lillian felt the storm closing in, not just in the atmosphere, but within her sister too. After an agonizing pause, Maggie looked away, her jaw tightening. I need time to think. The words cut deep, leaving Lillian standing at the edge of despair. What if her sister turned her back? What if she rejected help and continued down a dangerous path? Tears welled in Lillian's eyes as Maggie walked away, each step tearing at Lillian's heart. Back in the community center, the room had emptied, save for a few lingering faces. They were still discussing the alternatives she had proposed. Small groups exchanged recipes and health tips, a flicker of fellowship growing like light in a dark room. Yet the argument she had just faced weighed heavy on her soul. As the last townsfolk departed, an elderly fisherman approached her. You did good tonight, Lillian. Change ain't easy, but I reckon we can start. His words warmed her, reigniting the original spark. If Bar Harbor could embrace this, if Maggie could learn to see the truth, then perhaps they could all find a way forward. That night, sleep wouldn't come. Lillian walked out to the beach, her bare feet sinking into the cool sand. Waves crashed against the shore, rhythmic and relentless. I just want us to be safe, she whispered, sending her plea into the night. And then it struck her a thought that could change everything. Maybe there was a way to bridge her sister's fears with new understanding. She needed to bring everyone together, but not just for health advice. No, it had to be deeper, a real connection, a reminder of what bound them as a community. With purpose igniting within, she envisioned a large gathering. An event not just about fish, but about family, health, and love, the essence of what it meant to be a part of Bar Harbor. As dawn began to paint the sky, Lillian felt hope rising in her chest. The upcoming event wasn't just about transforming health. It was about transforming hearts. Would she be able to rally the community one more time for something greater? The question lingered, though. Could she be the bridge between old ways and new knowledge? The morning unfolded like a bright canvas as Lillian made her way back to the community center, her mind racing with thoughts of what she could do. The air was crisp, and the scent of salt and pine reinvigorated her spirit. She had a vision now, one filled with possibility. She stepped inside the center, the familiar walls embracing her like an old friend. Decorations from previous events still hung around the hall, remnants of laughter and community spirit shared among neighbors. Lillian felt a flicker of hope. This room wasn't just a building. It was alive with memories of togetherness. Okay, Lillian, let us make this happen, she whispered to herself. She pulled out a notebook from her bag and began jotting down ideas. The theme of the gathering would be health and harmony. It needed to highlight the importance of tradition while embracing new ways of living, a blend of their fishing heritage and a forward-looking perspective. As she brainstormed, people began to trickle in for their usual morning coffee. Lillian greeted them with bright smiles, hoping to gauge their interest. I'm thinking about hosting a community gathering soon. It'll be all about our health and sharing new ideas, she announced. At first, she noticed a mix of curiosity and hesitation. Health? Haven't we always fished for our lives? Nodded Tom, a gruff yet kind old fisherman. But then, as they shared coffee, Lillian felt the mood lift after she explained her vision for the event. She described plans for cooking demonstrations, health talks, and perhaps even a fishing derby reimagined. Each element would emphasize their connection to the sea while also taking steps toward a healthier lifestyle. Slowly, she could see the wheels turning in their heads. Conversations picked up, murmurs of agreement replaced the initial skepticism. Elderly women began to share recipes they'd learned from their mothers, while younger folks expressed excitement over trying out new dishes. Why not include everyone from the kids to the grandparents? A bright-eyed volunteer suggested. Get the youths to talk about social media and what they eat. Exactly, Lillian exclaimed, her heart fluttering at the thought. It will be about bridging generations. Encouraged by their enthusiasm, she gathered a small group together, digging deep into the details of the event. With each plan, she felt a surge of strength. This could work. By the time lunch rolled around, the center buzzed with energy. Lillian's vision had fueled conversations across the room, weaving hope into the fabric of Bar Harbor's community. She felt lighter, as if the weight of her worry had transformed into the energy of possibility. But then, just as she began to feel that spark of triumph, the image of Maggie flashed through her mind. What if her sister didn't show up to the gathering? What if she didn't want to be part of this change? That fear gnawed at her even as joy bloomed around her. Lillian? A voice interrupted her thoughts. It was Jessica, a sweet girl with wild curls, regarding her with bright eyes. Are you okay? You seem worried. I'm fine, she replied, forcing a smile. Just thinking about how to get everyone involved. Have you talked to Maggie yet? The question hit her hard, and her smile faltered. Not yet, but I will. I have to. The weight of that decision settled on her shoulders again. She took a deep breath, reminding herself of what this event could mean. Then she realized, whether Maggie showed up or not, Lillian needed to reach out, to show her sister that they could still be linked to their roots while forging a new path. Filled with renewed determination, Lillian decided she wouldn't wait. She pulled out her phone, fingers trembling slightly as she dialed Maggie's number. Come on, pick up please, she murmured, heart racing. Maybe, just maybe, today would be the day their relationship might begin to heal. Would Maggie answer? Would she be open to seeing what Lillian encountered the night before? As the call rang, Lillian clenched her teeth, praying for the answer that could change everything. The call felt like an eternity. Lillian's heart raced as each ring echoed in her ears like a drum. She closed her eyes for a moment, taking in the familiar sounds of the community center, the whirring coffee machine, the buzz of conversation, the rustle of chairs. Then, finally, she heard it, the click, followed by a hesitant voice. Hello? Maggie? Lillian said, almost breathless. It's me, Lillian. A pause stretched out, thick with uncertainty. Lillian, hi. Lillian's stomach twisted. There was a chill in Maggie's tone, a distance that stung. I wanted to talk about the gathering I'm planning. It's all about health and community, and I really hope you'll be a part of it. There was a sigh on the other end, and Lillian could practically feel the weight of Maggie's discontent. Health? You know I don't do well with all that stuff, Lillian. But it's not just about that. It's about blending our fishing traditions with new ideas, sharing food and family stories, she urged, her voice rising with excitement. Please, Maggie, we can't let what happened tear us apart. We still have a community to nurture. I just don't know if I belong there anymore. Things have changed. The words hit Lillian like a cold wave. Silence enveloped them both as they faced the emotional tide pulling them further apart. I understand, but the heaviness in the air pressed against her chest. I want to be there for you. We can't keep pretending like this doesn't matter. Please, just come and see. A flicker of hesitation wafted through the line before Maggie replied. I'll think about it. Just think about it. Lillian pressed, feeling desperation creep in. Just do it for us, for the family. Okay, I'll think about it. The line went silent again, and Lillian could feel her heart plummeting. Thanks, Maggie, she said softly, her voice cracking. Just remember, we're in this together. After they hung up, Lillian stared at the phone in her hand, feeling the weight of every word spoken and unspoken. She looked around the bustling center, where laughter and chatter filled the air. Excitement radiated from her neighbors as they planned the details of the gathering. But the joy felt muted now, dampened by the distance that lingered between her and Maggie. Did she answer? Jessica's eager face came into her view, excitement sparkling in her eyes. Lillian forced a smile, but the corners of her mouth trembled. She's thinking about it. That's good, Jessica chirped, oblivious to the turmoil in Lillian's heart. Just keep pushing. It's almost time. With the community rallying around her vision, Lillian couldn't help but feel the flicker of hope reignite. But somehow, it felt fragile and shaky. Lillian, someone called from across the room. Turning, she saw Tom waving her over, his face animated. We need to finalize the seating arrangements. This can really bring everyone together. Yeah, right, she murmured, feeling the pull of responsibility overshadow her worry. As she joined the planning group, the energy buzzed around her, but something inside felt off. They shared ideas, exchanged laughs, but beneath it all rested a well of anxiety for her sister's absence. Everyone, let us make this real, Lillian exclaimed, trying to infuse some of her earlier excitement back into the group. Absolutely, they chimed, and for a moment, the thought of Maggie faded into the background. But deep within, Lillian knew this feeling wouldn't last forever. As the day pressed on, the question formed constantly in her mind. Would Maggie actually come? With determination, Lillian resolved that she would not let the fear of uncertainty hold her back. She was going to make this gathering a beacon, a moment of healing, whether her sister joined or not. Yet, even amid laughter and planning, a thought gnawed at her. As Lillian looked down at her phone, she wondered, what if this gathering wasn't just about health? What if it could be the bridge to heal all the invisible scars between them? Before she could get lost in her thoughts, a loud cheer erupted from across the room, drawing her attention back. Everyone seemed so hopeful, so ready to embrace this change. But the question lingered. Would the bond between sisters be strong enough to weather the storm they'd been through? With a deep breath, Lillian turned, determined to make this gathering a success, a chance for revival. As evening approached, she felt an undercurrent of anticipation, mixed with uncertainty. Would tomorrow be the day everything changed? Would it be a day for healing, or a day for more heartache? The next morning came quietly. A pale sun peeked through the windows of the community center, scattering golden light across the rows of tables laden with decorations and vibrant posters. Lillian arrived early, her heart a mix of excitement and anxiety. Today was the day she hoped would mark the beginning of something new, a rebirth for both her gathering and her sister's presence in her life. She set up fresh flowers at each table. Lillian replayed the call with Maggie in her mind. It felt like both a lifetime ago and just moments past. Each ring from the phone had spoken of hope, yet the chill in Maggie's voice haunted her. She wanted to shake it off, to push through, but the weight of that conversation lingered. Would she really come? Hey, Lillian. Jessica bobbed into view, her boundless energy an infectious force. Are we ready for this? I've been up since dawn prepping snacks. More like a snack tornado, Lillian laughed, a real smile finally breaking through. I'm glad you're here. Your positivity is just what we need. Just wait until you see the spread. People won't be able to resist. Jessica beamed, already moving around the room with the glee of a child on Christmas morning. As the minutes ticked by, the excitement in the center grew. Neighbors arrived, carrying dishes from their kitchens, steaming stews and ladders of baked goods that smelled heavenly. Lillian tried to immerse herself in the moment, absorbing the joy around her. Yet, every time a new face entered, her heart raced, thinking it might be Maggie. Lillian, what if we set up the testimonial board over there? Tom suggested, pointing to an empty wall. People could share their stories of how fishing brought their families together. Great idea, she replied, thankful for the distraction. It felt good to collaborate, to inspire. Yet, even as she engaged with her community, she couldn't shake the gnawing anxiety. As the gathering kicked off, Lillian took a moment to address the crowd, willing her voice to remain steady. Thank you all for coming. Today isn't just about health, it's about us, our community. It's about the traditions that unite us. Let us share and celebrate. Cheers erupted and smiles radiated back. She reveled in that energy for a moment, the warmth washing over her like a comforting blanket. But between the laughter and voices, a shadow lingered. Maggie's absence felt palpable. Midway through the event, as Lillian mingled, she caught sight of someone at the edge of the room. Her heart leaped. It was Maggie. Tension tightened in her chest, and she felt like all the air rushed out of the room. Maggie, she shouted, the word bursting from her lips like a freed bird. Time slowed as everyone turned, and she rushed forward. You came. Maggie hesitated, her eyes flickering with a mix of emotions: fear, bravery, love, uncertainty. I thought I could take a look. The crowd cheered, oblivious to the emotional weight of that moment. Lillian reached for her sister's hand, the warmth igniting an aching hope within her. Would they finally address the distance that had grown? The two women stood amidst the bustling energy, unsure yet tethered. "You're really here," Lillian breathed, a smile breaking through her worry. "Yeah, I wanted to see what you've created," Maggie admitted softly, scanning the colorful tables and smiling faces. Just then, a loud crash echoed through the community center. A table tipped over, scattering plates and causing startled gasps. Lillian's heart raced again, but not just from fear. It was a reminder that some messes couldn't be avoided, whether in gatherings or relationships. "Let us deal with this together," Lillian suggested, looking at Maggie. She could see the tension in her sister's shoulders. The past was still there, lurking in the background. With hesitant agreement, Maggie followed Lillian to help. As they bent to pick up the scattered items, Lillian couldn't shake a thought. Was this chaos a simple mess to clean, or was it a sign of the fractures they still needed to heal? As they worked side by side, the air around them seemed to lighten, yet the question loomed, could this gathering, filled with hope and community, be the beginning of mending what was broken? Or would the mess of their lives keep sweeping them apart? Lillian felt a surge of resolve, wanting to bridge that gap, but unsure how. Tonight would define the next step on their path. As the laughter and chatter continued behind her, a sense of urgency flicked through Lillian. Could this day be the shift they both needed, or just another day of trying to put pieces back together, hoping they fit? The chaos was quickly put to rights. Lillian and Maggie worked in tandem, lifting plates and righting the tipped table. Despite their silent labor, unspoken words filled the space between them. Each time their hands brushed against one another, Lillian felt a flicker of encouragement, but it was soon followed by the weight of unaddressed tension. As the cleanup shifted to laughter and collective sighs of relief, Maggie hesitated, her thoughts tangled in the crowd, who were now re-engaged, chatting over snacks and sharing smiles. "This is really nice," she finally said, stealing a glance around the room. It seemed so simple, yet in those words, Lillian heard something deeper. "Thank you for coming," Lillian replied, her voice soft yet strong. "I really wanted us to do this together." I didn't know what to expect," Maggie admitted, her gaze drifting to the decorations as if they held the answers. "I thought it might be overwhelming." "It's a lot, but it's beautiful," Lillian said, her eyes brightening with possibility. "Just like us. We can bring that beauty back, Meg." The two sisters exchanged a look, and for the first time in a long while, Lillian felt a sliver of hope pass between them. She took a breath, wanting to believe this moment could represent a fresh start. "Hey, Lillian," Jessica called out, her enthusiasm undimmed. "Come on, let us go check out the testimonial board. I think someone just shared the cutest story about how his dad taught him how to fish." Lillian turned to Maggie. "You want to see?" she asked, cautious yet hopeful. "Sure, why not?" Maggie smiled, and it felt genuine, like a door had opened just a crack. They moved towards the board, the sounds of the crowd wrapping around them. Laughter, snippets of conversation, the clinking of dishes. Each story pinned there spoke of bonds forged over fishing lines and shared days at the lake. Lillian felt a warmth swell in her chest. She could picture their own story moments spent at the river when they were kids, lessons in patience and bravery braided into their childhood. As they reached the board, Lillian noticed a particular story, a scrapbook page vibrant with color written by an old friend of their mother's. It told of fishing trips under starlit skies, teachings about life wrapped in simple acts of casting a line. The words felt like a roadmap, and Lillian found herself staring at it longer than necessary. "Maggie, look at this," she said gently, pointing to the paper. "It reminds me of Mom." Just as the words left her lips, Maggie's expression shifted. A shadow crossed her features. "Lillian, can we talk about that later?" For a moment, the lightness of the gathering, of their reunion, felt fragile, the questions hanging heavy between them. Would they ever really talk? Lillian took a measured breath. "Of course, but I hope we do." She met her sister's eyes. "I miss talking to you." "I miss us." Maggie nodded, the flicker of understanding in her gaze returning. But before she could respond, Tom stepped up, excitement sparkling in his eyes. "Hey, can you guys help with the activities? We need cheerleaders." That was the perfect distraction. With the energy of the crowd, Lillian and Maggie found themselves on the edges of a game, faced with grinning faces and playful competition. As the games began, Lillian kept looking at Maggie, finding moments where their eyes connected, bursts of laughter punctuating the air. Amidst the chaos, Lillian felt a whisper of connection. They might not have fixed everything, but for a brief moment, as they played along with their community, perhaps they had found a way to reach toward each other again. Just then, the realization hit her like a splash of cold water. This was just the beginning. They were still in process, still figuring it out. But Lillian's heart brimmed with hope and anticipation. As the sun dipped lower in the sky outside, the golden light filtering through the community center brought a sense of promise. Even in the midst of laughter, a question hung in the air. How far could they both go if they embraced the challenges ahead? Together? In that moment, Lillian locked eyes with Maggie again, courage building within her. Whatever mess lay ahead wasn't just for them to clean, it was the start of a journey they would navigate together. But as the games continued, a sliver of doubt crept back, and could they truly tackle their pasts while they still stood on shaky ground? The laughter echoed as Lillian and Maggie found themselves swept into a round of tug-of-war. The rope was damp and gritty, pulling against the strength of laughter and friendly shoves from both sides. With each hearty cheer from the crowd, something inside Lillian felt a little lighter. She could see Maggie's competitive spirit ignite a glimmer from the girl she had known growing up. "You're going down," Maggie shouted playfully, laughter spilling out with the words, and Lillian couldn't help but smile. This was the sister she remembered, one who didn't shy away from a challenge, and their playful banter ignited old memories. They tugged on the rope. Lillian glanced at Maggie's face, lit up by mirth, but a quick flash of uncertainty crossed Maggie's eyes. It was a reminder of the threads of their history, woven tightly with both stitches of joy and pain. "Pull! Pull!" someone shouted, snapping Lillian back to the moment. They weren't just sisters anymore. They were partners to the crowd, to the game, and hopefully, even to each other. After the game, they collapsed onto a bench, breathless but exhilarated. The rush of adrenaline, mixed with the easy camaraderie of their friends, brought a brief solace. The walls of their hearts felt a little softer, if only for a moment. Lillian took a deep breath and decided to try once more. "Maggie, can we talk now?" she asked, her heart quickening at the prospect of digging deeper amidst the lightness of the festivities. Maggie looked away, her gaze fixed on the flurry of activity around them. "I just don't know if I'm ready, Lillian." The weight of those words settled between them, heavier than the rope they just pulled. The joy in the air felt distant, as if they were trapped in a bubble away from the laughter and warmth swirling around them. But Lillian pressed on. "We don't have to solve everything right now. I want to understand what's been happening between us." Her voice trembled slightly, but she steadied it with resolve. "Why haven't we been able to talk?" Maggie's shoulders slumped, a frown forming at the corner of her mouth. "It's just easier to pretend everything's okay. I don't want to fight, and I don't want to feel what I feel when we talk about Mom." Lillian felt her own heart ache hearing those words. They were echoes of emotions she had been wrestling with as well. "I get that, but we're family, Meg. We can't keep pretending it's fine. Mom wouldn't want that for us." Maggie's eyes flickered with shadows of old pain. "What if it all comes crashing down? What if we bring back how messed up things got?" That opened a floodgate for Lillian. "But what if we finally face it together? I can't be the only one carrying this, and I don't want to lose you." Unexpectedly, tears pooled in Maggie's eyes. "I don't want to lose you either." The confession floated between them, fragile yet potent, as they found solace in their vulnerability. The moment hung thick with possibilities, but just then, someone shouted, "Water balloon toss next." "Who's in?" With a quick change of heart, Maggie wiped her eyes and grinned. "Let us go." She jumped up, pulling Lillian along, and it felt like the weight of their pending conversation lightened ever so slightly. Lillian smiled back. Maybe they still had a way to get there. Amidst laughter and splashes, the bond was slowly thawing. She could feel it ripple between them, the air electric with hope. And yet, deep in the back of her mind, a deeper truth lingered. Would this connection be strong enough to withstand the storm brewing on the horizon? As the water balloon toss erupted into chaos around them, one thought refused to fade. Was it enough to just have fun, or were they ready to confront the deeper wounds that had left them both fractured? The sun dipped lower in the sky, painting everything in warm hues of orange and pink, as laughter mingled with the sound of splashing water. The air was thick with excitement, and for that moment, Lillian felt as though she could forget the weight of the world. She stood beside Maggie, a playful smile stretching across her face as they scooped up the squishy, soaked balloons. Ready? Aim toss. Maggie shouted, her voice mingling with the cheers as they joined the throng of teammates, preparing for the splash zone that awaited them. Lillian braced herself, tossing a balloon across the makeshift battlefield. It exploded on impact with a loud pop, spraying cool water everywhere. Laughter erupted, and for a split second, it felt like everything was perfectly normal, like the summer days they used to spend outside as kids, free and untouchable. But as they continued tossing balloons back and forth, a familiar tightness gripped Lillian's chest. Amidst the chaos, the unresolved conversation loomed like a shadow, constantly reminding her of the softness they both resisted. The vulnerability behind Maggie's laughter lingered, and Lillian couldn't shake the feeling that their emotional walls were still heavily fortified, despite the lightness of the game. That a sudden splash drew her attention. This time, it was Maggie's balloon that had burst, soaking them both. They shared a burst of laughter, and it propelled Lillian forward. "Okay, your turn," she exclaimed, eager to lighten the mood. Maggie feigned offense, but her eyes sparkled. "Me? You think I'm going to take that lightly? Watch out." She nudged Lillian to the side and sent a balloon flying. Lillian ducked to avoid the blast, only to end up landing in a hilarious heap at the feet of their friends, who watched with amused smiles. "Nice move, sis," one of their friends called out. Maggie beamed, and Lillian couldn't help but feel warmth at seeing her sister light up. But the moment passed, and that warmth quickly became tinged with urgency. Could they truly sustain this feeling when the real challenges lay just beneath the surface? Once the game wrapped up and everyone began to disperse, Lillian found herself sitting on the outskirts of the crowd. She could see Maggie chatting animatedly with their friends, but felt a magnetic pull back to their earlier conversation. "Maggie," she started, her voice barely a whisper, as if saying her sister's name would shatter the fragile bubble of happiness they had built together. But Maggie's smile dimmed slightly as she turned to face her. "Lillian, can we not? Just for today? It feels good to just be to laugh." "I know, but it's not just about today, is it?" Lillian's heart began to race. "We can't keep avoiding it. We both know it's there, waiting for us." Maggie sighed deeply, visibly torn. "It's not that simple. I don't want to go back to that pain. I just want to enjoy today, please." The plea hung heavily between them, the excitement of the day clashing with the reality of their unspoken words. Lillian's pulse quickened. She could see the tempest building behind Maggie's facade. "Maggie," she began again, wanting to bridge the gap, but the words felt too big, too dangerous. Then, just like that, a sudden commotion drew their attention. A group of kids, running past with squeals of laughter, bumped into Maggie's shoulder. Their energy was infectious, and before Lillian knew it, Maggie had burst into laughter, joining in their carefree fun. Lillian watched, a bittersweet smile on her lips. She felt the longing to reach out, to pull her sister back into the conversation that mattered. But as Maggie spun around, splashing water and laughter, Lillian realized that maybe it would take a little more time to get to the heart of their struggles, and deeper inside, she couldn't escape the encroaching thought. Could laughter truly armor them against the shadows of their past? The remaining festivities faded away, and an uneasy silence settled in. Lillian knew they had a long way to go, but the question loomed as she felt the last vestiges of the day slipping away. When the laughter ends, will they be ready to dive back into the depths of their truths? The cool evening air settled in, wrapping around Lillian like a soft, familiar blanket. The laughter of their friends started to fade as the sun dipped below the horizon, leaving behind streaks of purple and darkening blue. With every step she took away from the splashing water and the joyful chaos, Lillian felt a heaviness in her heart, a longing for something deeper than momentary joy. Maggie's laughter echoed in her ears, but the playfulness now felt like a thin veil, hiding something more significant. Lillian glanced back at the group, her sister surrounded by a flock of friends, animated and glowing. It was a sight she wanted to remember, yet the warmth of that moment only deepened her unease. "Can't do it today," Lillian muttered under her breath. "But how long can we keep pretending?" As they all began to gather their things, Lillian took a moment to observe Maggie from afar. She noticed the way Maggie tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear, her smile unwavering even as the shadows began to creep in. Perhaps their carefree hours had only pushed away the truths they both felt unwilling to face. A temporary escape from the reality that lingered. "I'll catch up with you later," Lillian shouted, trying to join the crowd. She needed air to think, to breathe away the tightness that accompanied lingering questions. She wandered towards the edge of the park, where a small pond glimmered under the remnants of twilight. The water looked inviting, ripples distorting the last of the light. Kneeling down by the edge, Lillian dipped her fingers into the cool liquid, letting it wash over her skin like a gentle reminder of the world around her. While she struggled to collect her thoughts, memories surged forward. Long conversations with Maggie, whispered secrets in the dark, promises to always be there for each other. But somewhere along the road of sisterhood, those promises had gotten tangled in unspoken pain. "Hey, I thought you'd be joining us," a voice broke her solitude. Lillian looked up to find Jack, one of their friends, standing a few feet away, hands stuffed in his pockets and concern glimmering in his eyes. "Just needed a moment," Lillian replied, forcing a smile. "Things felt a little intense over there." Jack nodded, understanding beyond words. "It's hard sometimes, putting on a brave face. You're both doing your best." "Yeah, I wish it could stay like today forever." She stared wistfully at the pond, feeling the weight settle on her chest again. "But I know we have to talk. The happiness, it feels like it could break at any moment." Jack took a step closer, his voice softening. "You can't force it, Lil. Just let it unfold. It's okay to feel that way." For a moment, Lillian allowed herself to imagine a world where they didn't have to put on a show, where real conversations flowed as easily as laughter. But could they really bridge the chasm that had formed between them? Could they embrace the messy, complicated parts of their lives like they once did with their childhood dreams? "Thanks, Jack," she said, feeling a flicker of warmth in the darkness. But as Jack walked away, Lillian felt the guilt gnawing at her once more. Laughter was a beautiful distraction, but it wouldn't heal what lay beneath the surface. Wiping her hand across her eyes, Lillian stood, determination blooming within her. Maybe it was time to muster the courage to face the truth, even if it meant diving headfirst into uncertainty. As the stars began to twinkle, Lillian knew their moment would come. She just hoped they would be ready for whatever that conversation might bring. "Tomorrow," she whispered to herself, looking back towards the fading laughter, "tomorrow we'll talk." But as she turned away from the pond, a flicker of movement in the shadows caught her eye. Her heart raced as she approached a figure emerging from the darkness, someone she never expected to see tonight. "Lillian?" The voice was familiar yet haunting, sending shivers down her spine. "We need to talk." Panic and curiosity tangled within her as uncertainty loomed. What revelations awaited her? This time, Lillian's heart raced as she faced her sister, Maggie, emerging from the shadows of uncertainty. The familiar warmth of their bond felt like a thin thread, stretched yet unbroken. "Maggie, is everything okay?" Her voice trembled slightly as urgency danced in her chest. Maggie looked weary but resolute, her eyes reflecting the weight of unsaid words. "I've been thinking a lot about us, about the event." She took a hesitant step closer, the distance of past hurts shrinking, if only a little. "I know we've been avoiding our truth." The admission hung in the air, thick with anticipation and hope. Lillian's heart pulsed with recognition, the vulnerability in Maggie's voice calling her forth. "You're right. We can't keep brushing it aside. We need to talk." As they sat on a weathered bench by the pond, the soft glow of the stars began to punctuate the night sky, cloaking everything in a blanket of quiet peace. Lillian felt a weight lift. "I've loved seeing you today, really. You brought the happiness back, Maggie. But did you notice the hesitation behind my smile?" Maggie's voice cracked, and the flicker of pain shot through Lillian. "It's too painful sometimes. Talking about Mom still hurts too much, Lillian. It's overwhelming." "I know it is," Lillian replied, her heart aching with understanding. "But we can't let that keep us apart. Mom wanted us to always have each other. She taught us the importance of connection." Maggie looked away, her jaw tightened like a dam ready to break. "It shouldn't feel like we're fighting, yet every time we open up, it does. It's exhausting." "I get it," Lillian said softly, reaching for her sister's hand. "But maybe it's time we lean into that discomfort together. We can share the load, Meg." A moment passed before Maggie sighed deeply, surrounding the silence with a rush of emotion. "I feel like I've lost my way since that day. Everything changed. The shadows beneath the stars seemed to recede as Lillian drew courage from their exchange. I felt lost too. But here's the truth: we can forge a new path. It doesn't have to mean letting go of our memories. Instead, we can honor them in each other. Maggie's expression softened, tears shimmering in her eyes. I'm just scared we might hurt again. What if we speak and it all comes crashing down? Lillian nodded, squeezing Maggie's hand tighter. It might hurt. It might crack us open. But I believe it can also heal us. We've spent too long tiptoeing around what matters. As the moonlight danced on the water, Lillian could see the transformation in her sister. Maggie's shoulders relaxed a fraction, the tension beginning to dissolve. Okay, Maggie whispered, her voice steadier. Let us try. Together, Lillian echoed, her heart swelling with hope. Let us start by talking about our favorite memories of Mom and how we can carry them forward. And so, under the starlit sky, they began to share. Memories flowed like the gentle ripples on the pond. Laughter mixed with tears as stories of warmth filled the air. They spoke of Thanksgiving dinners, of fishing trips that sparked joy, and of gentle lessons about life as fragility. With each word spoken, every layer of pain peeled back. Lillian felt the bridge between their hearts gradually rebuilding. They began to confront their fears: the shared loss, the silence that had grown like a thick fog, and the pressing weight of things left unspoken. As the conversation deepened, they moved from memories to discussing their hopes for the future. Lillian expressed her desire for a community built on trust and health, but with Maggie by her side, rekindling the legacy they treasured. I don't want just a gathering. I want a family, Maggie murmured, her eyes glistening with newfound resolve. Let us make this a new beginning, not just for us, but for everyone. Exactly. We can create a space where people can both talk about traditions and explore healthier paths forward. Together, Lillian replied, her heart racing with excitement. The chill of night transformed into something warm, the air heavy with promise. Maybe we can even involve the younger ones. Show them our roots while guiding them to navigate future choices. Maggie beamed at the idea. I love that. We can host fishing workshops and storytelling nights. We'll keep our heritage alive and grow alongside it. Their laughter rang into the night, rich with possibilities. With every passing word, Lillian felt their past begin to meld with a brighter future, one rooted in understanding and connection. As they made their way back to the community center, hearts a bit lighter and spirits lifted, Lillian felt something shift. They would face whatever came next together, equally burdened, equally hopeful. And as the lights illuminated the center ahead, Lillian knew this was just the first step. A true transformation awaited them, not only as sisters, but as a community. They had cracked open the door to healing, and she felt that they could walk confidently towards the light on the other side of their pain. Walking side by side with Maggie, Lillian whispered, "This is just the beginning." In the depth of her heart, she knew there was strength in vulnerability, and she was ready to embrace this journey with her sister, hand in hand. Now, before you leave, there is something you need to do. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Trust me, it really makes a difference. Comment below your thoughts and feelings about this touching ending. What resonated with you the most? And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Let us spread the message of hope and healing.